I hope you're doing fantastic. This is Dan Duran. One more time, we're back after this sabbatical. We had like a 1 month and a half sabbatical for ourselves. I think I got COVID in a couple of weeks ago, and I was really sick, man. I'm just actually getting better right now, and but we're happy that you are here. Let's see if we have people on the line.
Absolutely. Let's see if anybody's coming on. Share those people that are glad on everybody's morning. I just
Let
want to
me know.
say hi everybody. I'm glad you're feeling better, Dan, and we're so happy to be back, everybody. We're looking forward to this and continuing to do it every single week. So it's
Absolutely,
nice to be
absolutely.
here.
Yeah, so this is Dan Duran, your host here at the Tech Lounge, and I have here, of course, our super duper, rhino head and horn, Andrew Summerton. I hope you're doing fantastic, buddy.
I'm doing
Um,
I'm doing great, Dan. That just goes to show you that we haven't been doing this for a month and a half.
yes,
Our
the,
intro's lacking a little bit. We're gonna get there.
yes.
We're gonna get there.
Of course, we're missing Gladstone G Money in there. He's working the dials on the back office on the back room, and but we miss him here at the show. And yeah, let's get on with the show. Today we're gonna be talking
All
about
right, Elizabeth.
easy ways to secure your website, so your WordPress website from hackers, so you can stay away from getting hacked and all of that good stuff. And the reason why we're talking about um, WordPress and securities because we posted a blog post last week, and it's crazy. Let me just go on and show you what's going on in the world of WordPress. So I'm just powering up my screen
As you're
here.
as you're powering it up there, Dan, we got lots of people. Thanks, Gladstone. He's sharing a whole bunch of love. So we got Adrian in the house, Sean and Elizabeth, Adrian saying nice setup. So that's over to you, Dan. I'm sure.
Thanks,
But
guys. I
anyways, yeah,
appreciate. Oh yeah,
absolutely. Thanks.
it's a mess in the background, man. I'm doing so many
I
things at
made a
once,
mess.
and
It looks like a professional studio there. It looks great.
thanks. Thanks. Appreciate it. All right. So let's get on with the show. So WordPress this week or last week, I think it was this week,
Yeah.
15,000 WordPress websites got hacked as part of a massive Google SEO poisoning scheme. Like 50,000. That's pretty crazy. And this is from the Sukuri security business, which is part of GoDaddy. So
Right.
they have a really good services that I'm going to show you in a bit what these guys do. They're fantastic. And basically, what was going on in here is that these websites were getting hacked in different PHP files, and they were sending people, redirecting people to other websites. So you can see this is one of the websites that were being redirected to, like the hacked sites were being redirected to. This is pretty crazy. And
Absolutely.
I don't understand a couple of things with this, and I'll explain what I don't understand. So this is the website in question. So ois.is, right? So Black Hat Redirect Malware Campaign, right? So the thing that was happening is that this 15,000 websites were getting hacked.
Mhm.
The first thing that I don't understand is that they don't, Sukuri is not telling you how they were hacked. Was it a vulnerability? Was it a zero-day attack? Was it what kind of campaign? What were the hackers actually doing to penetrate these websites and implant the files for the redirection? So you can see here, for example, these are some of the files, and these are very common WordPress files that usually they're very important inside of the WordPress stack. So, for example, WP signup.php, we have cron.php, we have all of the, like, for example, WP settings.php. These are pretty critical files for WordPress. And they were getting, for some reason, they were getting hacked, right? These are some of the files that were implanted on the web servers, right? So all of these. And then if I go down a bit, these are the code snippets, right? The redirection through PHP, the scripts, right? And these are the actual bad files. So if you see any of these files inside of your WordPress file system, you have to be very careful because it might be a red direction.
Right.
So these are the files, right? And yeah, so the first thing that I don't understand, as I said, is how did this happen? Why were these websites getting hacked? We don't know. The second thing is that this doesn't make any sense to me. The reason why is because, see, Google has two type of signals, or lots of types of signals, but there are two major signals. The first one is the search query, and the second one is the backlinks, right? So these guys were trying to do a lot of backlinks in there, right? But backlinks without the keywords or without the actual text being searched for, it's useless for Google. So Google won't rank you high even if you have those types that one type of signal, which is just the backlinks. So I think there's more to it,
Right.
right? I think there is more to it. Something is going on definitely in here. We had lots of comments. Thank you guys. It's really, I'm really happy that we are getting a turnout, a pretty good turnout on the chat. Let's Andrew, maybe we can go into what people are saying in there.
Sure. If you want to just Gladstone, maybe share a few so we can have it. I know you have been, so I appreciate that. But I do see a couple there. I know Diego, spells hello with a really long. Hey guys, that's from Elizabeth. Hey Elizabeth, nice to see you. I know we've seen you a few times before, but welcome to the show and welcome back after so long. Hello, Diego. So everybody's basically saying hi, happy Friday. So thanks for sharing the love. Thanks for being here and spending your time with us. And I really think today's show is going to be educational. It's actually very informative, and because WordPress is pretty much, well, it is the most used website service in the world. Probably over 1/3 of all websites are built on it. This is a pretty important topic, and people should be aware of the things that are going on and how to keep it as secure as possible.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So if I look at this site here, this is the public 8 www dot, right? And what it is a compilation of all the websites pretty much in the world where you can type. This is like sort of like Google Dorking, right? So you can type in any type of query in here, and it's going to give you all the websites that have that content. So if I type in ois.is in here in quotes, then it will spit up 17,000 websites that
Wow.
contain those links. You see that? So this is the link. This is the bad links. These are the actual websites. And then if I click on the website, don't do this if you're in, especially if you're in a WordPress. Sorry, on a Windows device. Then you go to the website. You can see that it's not working. Oh yeah, there is. Okay, so this is the red direction. You don't see anything here, Andrew, right?
Right. Nope. Nothing.
But if I click,
Then you have the
actually, it
404.
did it did redirect me for a second. So it's an automatic redirection. So if I click on the site, then if I wait for a little bit, it will do a redirection. Maybe not right now. Let's see. Yeah, I just noticed that I did a
It did.
redirection,
Yeah.
and then I just closed off the window. But yeah, so this is crazy, right? So this is how hackers are able to find stuff here in this public
So
www
quickly.
dot as well.
We have
Now
a
we have
question.
a
We have a question, Gladstone. From Gladstone. If a company's website gets hacked due to WordPress security vulnerabilities, would WordPress be accountable?
no, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? I mean, it's crazy.
Yes, yeah. So the thing is that the WordPress stacks, just like Drupal, Joomla, and a whole whack of other stacks, are open source, right? So
Mhm.
anybody can actually take them, download them, install them, and then work with them, customize them to their needs, and make them their own. However, as part of the NGU or the open source Creative Commons, whatever license you're using,
So yeah,
most of this, I mean, all of their open source licenses, they tell you that once you take the code, it's yours, and there's no
yours.
liability, there's no guarantees, there's nothing. It's as is, right? So you download it, you create your website, and you're on the hook if something happens, right? However, there is a whole bunch of people out there, the entire WordPress community that is always updating and always
Updating exactly.
coming up with new patches. So it's a very strong community, the WordPress community, and that's why
It's so
their source code
so
is very reliable.
it's reliable, but it's also why it's most vulnerable too, because it's so used, right? I mean, that the hackers go after it because what over, like I said, 1% or 1/3 of all websites are WordPress. So that's why it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's more prone to being hacked, but it also has an incredible community to keep it updated and secure. So
Exactly. So look at this. So if I go to GitHub, WordPress, and I click on the WordPress GitHub, and this is it, right? So all the code, you can see the code for the WordPress stack is available to the public because it is open source, right? So hackers, they know the code inside out, and they try to find ways to get into the WordPress website. So yeah, very good question. Anything else from the public?
sure, we got another one I think that we can share. Let's see here from Diego. Are there safer alternatives to WordPress?
Okay,
Go ahead, Dan.
so
Yeah,
are there alternatives to WordPress? Absolutely. Are they
totally.
safer? I don't want to say if they're safer or not safer. I think WordPress is safer if you take precautions and if you
Exactly. Update.
do diligence. You do due diligence on make sure that you keep it up to date and secure, right? But what alternatives are there out there that are pretty safe? For example, one of them would be Drupal. So if
Drupal.
I go to the Drupal is more of a enterprise level, open source content management system. So this is Drupal here, right? Very safe. I mean, there's a huge community. I think Drupal is the second largest after WordPress, and then you have something like Joomla, for example.
Totally, yeah.
And
I hit the nail. I think you hit the nail on the head though, Dan. I think it's about, it's not about, it's about being not reactive but proactive. You need to keep the updates going. You need to be like, people get lazy, right? They build a website and they forget about it, and they forget about doing the updates. They forget about managing it. They forget about, so many things. They think, oh, it's built and I forget about it. So that's where they become vulnerable. But if they're proactive and they're always updating and they're always staying on top of, things, then you're much more, it's about mitigating that risk. But if you're lazy and you don't do anything with it, you're going to be more susceptible getting hacked.
absolutely, 100% hit it right on the nail. So there is another question: which CMS would I say is the most secure, least secure? Yeah, so WordPress very secure, Drupal very secure, Joomla very secure. Aside from that, I'm not sure if I would trust anything else. I mean, if you know anything else out there that is secure, just post it on the chat and we'll talk about it. But
For sure.
at this point, I think those are the three major ones, and then from our side, we don't deal too much with other CMS that are open source and they're 100% trustworthy. That's kind of like how things are, right? So
Well, I
good
think,
question.
yeah, it's a great question. And I think it goes back to what I was saying and what you were mentioning. Again, it's just being proactive. Even if you have a really good hosting provider, hosting is one thing, but having your sites constantly updated and everything else it should be a critical part of any partnership you enter into, like with hosting engagements, or your team should be doing that on a regular basis. I know all of our company, we update our clients constantly to make sure they're hosted and they're secured.
Yeah, so here's our hosting packages and our technology, and these are the things that we do in for our clients. For example, you get staging sites, you get blacklist monitoring, you get web application firewalls, you get security updates. So these are very important. So our
Very
team
important.
actually every week we update our clients' websites. So it's also super important, right? Like not make sure that you are covered, right? These are our packages at Rhino Cybersecurity. All right, so we had another question in there.
Which CMS has the larger market share? That would be,
Absolutely,
yeah,
100% WordPress,
WordPress.
right?
Yeah,
So CMS. If I look for CMS market share,
I think it's 1/3, if I'm not mistaken, of all websites globally are on a WordPress. It could even be higher than that.
yeah, WordPress is 51%. No, right now it's 65%. Look at
Oh
that,
wow, so it's
60.
not a third, it's 2/3. Holy.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you have Shopify. I mean, Shopify is not open source, right? So you have to
No,
pay for
exactly.
that. And then
Yeah.
you have Joomla. Then you have Squarespace. It's not Squarespace. Also, it's not open source. Wix is not open source. Drupal is, and then you have Bittrex. Bittrex is, Blogger sort of is, and then Magento. Magento is an e-commerce owned by Adobe, and pretty good systems as well. Yeah, so that's a really good question. All right, let's get go on with the show. So before we talk about, let me just show you a couple of things that are really cool. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the this hack in here, right? If I go to VirusTotal and I search for ois.is, you'll see that a whole bunch of vendors, security vendors, already have pinged this as malicious. You can see that, right?
Hmm.
And the reason why I was saying that it goes beyond SEO, black hat campaigns, and redirection is because if you go to the graph, right?
Hmm.
So it's a little convoluted, maybe, but it is understandable. So here is the website. So ois.is, right? But it is calling a whole bunch of stuff, right? So for example, it is calling PDFs, and these are probably bad PDFs, right? You can see that
Hmm.
15, it's pretty bad. This is a phishing external link, and then you see also Excel sheets. Look at this as an Excel sheet, probably with a macro running on the background to for redirecting people, and you see also an APK, so that's an Android installable file. You have here executable files, and if you look at on this side here, it's calling a lot of um, code, right? So bad code, resolutions from different countries.
Yeah.
You can see here the Netherlands, as well as Australia, right? So this is more than just an bad SEO campaign. I think what's going on in here is that this website is trying to call different files and put them on those hacked servers for people to download and then get hacked, and then your entire network is hacked,
Yeah.
right? So although Sukuri is not saying what's going on, I have a hunch that that's what the problem is, right? So
Mm.
very interesting. You can look at the virus total and see pretty much all the websites that are suspicious and bad websites, as well as IP addresses,
Dan,
hashes,
question
and
for that. I mean,
IOCs.
Dan, in regards to that, that's a really great point, and it's a great tool and resource to look into. But let's say you don't know this stuff, and all of a sudden you have a you're a common company, you don't have all the experience, and you were hacked part of this process, etc. Like, what would your recommendation be, or what would be the best steps to make sure that that doesn't happen, or to mitigate that, just as a reference?
Okay, so there's two different sides that I want to talk about. The first one is the network,
Yeah.
right? The network, the company's network, and the second one is the digital assets.
Okay.
So, like the WordPress site. Let's talk
Right.
about the network for a second. Okay,
Okay.
so when clients come to us as they say, okay, we've been hacked. What do we do? What are the next steps? We get into the network, look at right away the domain controller. We see if there's any extra admin accounts on the domain controller, and then we start looking one by one all the endpoints inside of the
Network.
network,
Yeah.
right? And then we do forensic analysis. So this is pretty cool, very very fascinating. We use a tool called Autopsy, right? It comes in Windows, Mac, and also Linux. Autopsy. We get an image from the computers and we do an autopsy scan, and then we are able to tell all the files. We also do memstat for memory file analysis,
Hmm.
and we get all the information. We get, for example, okay, so on February 22nd of 2022, this individual Peter at this company got an email with this link. He clicked on the link, then it prompted a whatever it is, let's say a Word document with a macro. The macro was calling this CNC uh, bought from the internet, and then extracted these files, and then this is how it started. So we can actually get an entire picture of how the company was hacked.
Right.
And why is that so important? Because once you are able to tell what happened inside of the company, you are actually you can actually deploy all the resources that you need to be able to contain whatever is happening inside
Right.
of the company, right? Once the hackers are inside of the network, it's really hard to get rid of them. That's the key. So that's from
Yeah.
the network side. If you
Right.
look at the website side, it is extremely important to clean up your website, all the PHP files that are contaminated, and see where the hack happened, whether it is the SQL injection, or it was cross-site scripting, or whatever it is. You need to clean the site.
Right.
Hopefully, you're going to have backups. If you have backups, you have to determine, if you go to your file system, for example, you'll see when those files were changed. And that can actually, when you see the files that were created, bad files, let's say a PHP, a rogue PHP with a command in there, was created on, let's say, last week on Wednesday. Now you know how far back you can go to get your backup and then restore it, right?
Right.
So you want to restore from a good backup, not from a contaminated backup. That's the key. But it's more preventative. You need to have
Right.
backups, right? So to be able to, 90-day backups, it's kind of like the standard, right? And we provide that as part of our service at Rhino Cybersecurity as
So,
well.
so Dan, so I guess my question then, if what's the easiest way? So for a company who's concerned about their digital assets or their website, is like a vulnerability scan or a vulnerability assessment on that probably the best approach to
Yes,
identify? Yeah. Okay.
absolutely. Sorry, I was laughing because somebody posted in there. If you can put that on the on the chat, Gladstone, that would be great. They say autopsy. It sounds morbid.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
medical term, autopsy.
Yes, we perform autopsies. Yes, very good question. Um, you know what? Actually, if you go to our site, you'll see that we have our
Oh yeah, that's right.
Black Friday, right? Black Friday deals November 21st to November 28th, right? So, in part of our Black Friday, we have, if I go to the deals here, vulnerability assessments for $6.99, and then vulnerability scanning for $4.99. So if you're interested in getting your website checked out by the forensic doctors, well, not the forensic doctors, but the doctors, the cybersecurity doctors, we can do vulnerability assessments on your website for
Absolutely.
$6.99 this week as part of Black Friday in all vulnerability scanning. And
And
then
those,
you will be able to give you a report on exactly what's going on with your website. So,
and you know what's
very
really
good question.
important to know about this is it's a Black Friday special based on 2022 rates. So not only are you going to get 30% off the 2022 rates, because as of 2023, they're actually all increasing again on top of that. Because the time and the that goes into these reports is incredible, and the value is incredible. So if you do actually tap into the Black Friday special, it's an incredible savings. So we encourage you to sign up and get that, because it's really going to help you with your website. There's no question.
Exactly. Get them while they're hot, right? That's the thing. Get them when they're hot, man. All right. Okay. So let's talk about some ways to secure your website. What can you do? The first one, what I think you pointed out, is to have a reliable hosting company, right? That's
Right.
the key, right? So to be able to secure your site, you need to secure your web server. That's kind of like the foundation, right?
Yeah.
Make sure that whatever it is, if you're running CentOS, or you're running Debian, or you're running Ubuntu server, or all of that stuff, it is secure. And the best way to do it is not to rely, not to. I love IT departments and IT people and all of that, but they usually worry more about the network side of things
Network.
rather
Yeah.
than digital assets. So you need to hire somebody or a company that actually does very good in terms of web servers, right? So
100%.
and we do it too, right? So get a dedicated service. Don't get one of those share web servers and shared hosting and shared IP addresses. No, get your own stuff. I don't
Well,
think it's that expensive.
well, you know what? I think it's also you have to take. I think that's you hit the nail on the head, Dan. I think it's. I love actually go before I jump to what I was saying. Just go back, Gladstone, to what that post was. I really, I love that. Share it. Definitely go ahead and share it with your workplace. It is great value, and I think they're going to get a lot out of it. So I appreciate that that you see the value in that. So yeah, hope to hear from you. But
Yeah.
for that,
Biniam, so sorry, so don't mean to cut you off, but
it's okay,
Biniam,
but
this does not only it's not only limited to what websites, right? So if
network.
your friends or if your colleagues, if you have a company that is like like 15 employees, 30 employees, this also applies for network
Network.
vulnerability scanning to see what are the problems inside of the network. It also applies to external scanning, so we target the firewall from the outside to see what vulnerabilities there are. So all of that stuff, we can take a look not just on the website side of things, but also the network side of things.
Exactly. Good point. That's a great point, Dan. Actually, very important to know. Yeah,
All
and
right.
kind of what I was going at. Sorry, before I jumped in there and shared that with you. I think we talked about price, and we talked about shared hosting, and we talked about private network cloud and all that kind of stuff. That all applies. So I mean, it's not always about the cheapest solution. It's really important people understand that it's about a solution that gives you the services that are required to help keep you protected. So don't always look at price, because ultimately, if you're getting you're getting a shared server, they're not doing the backups, they're not doing everything you're asking, they're behind the eight ball, they're telling you they're doing it, and 3 months later they're not, and then all of a sudden you're potentially hacked or there's a problem. Be careful who you hire, and make sure they're accountable to the services they're providing to you. It doesn't have to be the cheapest, and it doesn't have to be the most expensive. It just has to be the right service, and you just need to make sure they're proactive for you and to help you.
Yes, and Rhino has the right services. There you
100%.
go. Contact our sales
Absolutely.
department right now.
That's right.
And subscribe to this channel. Make sure you subscribe, guys. YouTube, Get Cyber. Make sure you subscribe. And all right, so moving on. Let's see a few other things. So the first one that I talked about was the hosting, right? Make sure it's dedicated. Make sure you
Yeah.
have a reliable hosting company. Make sure that you do updates. And you know what? The thing is, don't worry about doing updates. You should. I mean, if you have a company like Rhino Cybersecurity, then they will do the updates for you. You don't have to worry
Absolutely.
about that. You just do what you need to do, which is your marketing stuff, right? So, all right. So the other thing that I have in here is using a reliable WordPress plugin. So I'm using here iThemes. So, and it is not very expensive to get. I think it's $200 per year subscription. So it's fairly cheap. And what it does is there's a whole bunch of things that this thing does. So for the first one is site scans. It scans your site every day, and it tells you, for example, your status in terms of how strong the passwords are, any brute force attacks that the site has encountered, any banned users, any IP address that are not able to get into the site because they are bad, right? They're trying to do kind of like naughty things. There's a lot of stuff that is involved in this. Like, for example, moving your admin portal to another URL. It does two-factor authentication, so enable for me to be able to get into the site. I need my phone, and I need my two-factor authentication to be able to get in. There's a lot of stuff that iThemes does for you, right? It, so a plugin like this, I think Fence is another one, but I prefer iThemes as much more. It plays nicely with all the other plugins that you have, right? The second thing is make sure that all your plugins and your themes and everything is up to date, right?
Yeah.
Um, the problem with automatic updates, automatic WordPress has this thing where you
Yeah.
can update your plugins and everything automatically, right? Especially your core system, and it's great. It works for small websites maybe and blogs and stuff like that, but larger websites, you got to be very careful with that. Because if there's one update that
Break it.
goes through and breaks the site, it's really hard to be able to go back, and you have to restore it, and then your site goes offline and all of that. So you got to be very careful with the automatic updates, right?
Yeah.
So that's why you need a security group. You need like somebody like Rhino Cybersecurity that can actually do
this
this
is
thing for you.
this is a big plug show. I love it.
Oh, yes, this is all about Black Friday sales. Right. Okay. So, any other questions? Visit rhino.io. Any other questions from our audience? Gladson. No questions. Okay, perfect. Moving on. So, then So I'm visiting bywire.ca, right? Because we're using it as a guinea pig in here. So the second thing that I would recommend is having Cloudflare. Cloudflare is a web application firewalls. It is what's called a proxy, reverse proxy server. And what it does is it hides your origin IP address. So every server in the world has an IP address. Every endpoint in the world, your computer, your phone, they all have IP addresses. And web servers, of course, that are hosting websites also have IP addresses. You want to protect those IP addresses as much as you can. And how do you do that? Well, you can use a reverse proxy, something like Cloudflare, that is going to hide or proxy that IP address, and it's going to show another IP address to the world. So that's a reverse proxy. That's what web application firewall is. And Cloudflare is free, right? So they have a free tier. Let me explain it. They have a free tier that works very well, is very good, right? And then there is paid tiers as well, right? But the one that I recommend is the one that is like $20 per month. It's not very expensive, and it does wonders for you. So you can see, for example, here the firewall events, how people are getting stopped from Romania, from Israel, from India. These are all either bad bots or actual hackers trying to brute force into the application. You can see what's going on in here, or part of your, in this case, it's part of your country blocking. So your firewall, you can actually block entire countries. So for example, we block Romania, we block China, we block Russia, because we don't do business with those countries. They don't need to go to our website, right? So we do all of that stuff. It's very, very, very good, right?
Dan, is there other services other than Cloudflare that like maybe is Defender a similar type of thing?
Yes, Akamai has another service like this, but the one that is used the most is Cloudflare. And guess what? Rhino Cybersecurity, when we get contracts with our clients, we put them on Cloudflare. So we are vigilant on what's going on inside of Cloudflare, because Cloudflare is one of our partners, right? Third-party partners that we use for this type of stuff, right? So yeah, it's got different security levels. It's got challenge passage. It's got brute force or browser integrity. It's very phenomenal. It stops a lot of attacks that has to do with SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and so on. So very good question. It is part of our package as a hosting company.
And Dan, I think actually Diego's question, he just actually asked that exact thing. Is there any way to restrict access to WordPress depending on the location from which they try to enter? Would that be a secure practice? I mean, admin access.
100%. 100%. So as part of our firewall rules, and let me see if I can actually get into my firewall. Here it is.
Yep, you did. We did. I was just reading Diego's response. Yep, we just answered that, but that's okay. It's good to reiterate it. Thanks for the question, Diego.
Yes. Okay. So I don't know where it is. Anyways, yeah, I just gotta find the firewall rules. Oh, here it is. So here it is, right? So block countries. It's super easy to do, right? So all you have to do is create this firewall and then add the country. So for example, if we want to block Venezuela, then we just add Venezuela here, or block or country equals to Venezuela, and then it will be blocked, right? But we're not blocking Venezuela. We don't want to block Venezuela.
We love Venezuela.
We love Venezuela, exactly, and Colombia. All right, so this is the firewall stuff. It comes with our hosting package as well. So, and then we get into the other things. So things like, for example, here's I just logged out. Why? I don't want to log back in, because if I log back in, then you're gonna see some sensitive information that I don't want you to see.
Want to do that?
Probably.
Yeah,
No, we don't want to. I don't want
okay.
to show you sensitive information. So let me just do something real quick in here. All
Any other questions while we're waiting, guys, while Dan's doing this? Or are you already out of it? Okay, perfect. No problem.
Yeah, I already have it ready for you. This is very important. Backups, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You can see this is one of our clients. I hid the I hit the URL for the client. So I instead of the client, I put website here, right? So daily backups. You can see they are done at 12 UTC. So this is like probably 2 or 3, 4 in the morning, right? And you can see that backups are completed every day, November 18, 17, 16, and so on, right? How many files were changed, files removed. And then in the restore options, I can restore both all the files from the website as well as the databases, or just the database alone or the files alone. So this works very well, even if you, let's say, one of our clients deletes a file by accident and it's gone forever, and they're like, "Oh my god, we deleted this file. Can you
Yeah.
just go back and then restore that file for us?" Absolutely. We go in, restore the file, send it to the client. Here you go. Everybody's happy, right?
Dan, I think I love that you brought that up actually, because I think, back to accountability for these services that are out there. There's a lot of companies or individuals that are offering these type of things, and companies are complacent. And then in the event of emergency, they assume that it's all been done, or the backups are done every single day, or they can restore, a file like you just alluded to. But if you're not asking your provider, or you're asking your team, or asking the company you've hired to verify that they're doing that, or at least see activity every so often, I think you really need to be proactive as a company. I mean, it falls on you to make sure you. I mean, if the client, you're paying for a service, make sure you're getting that service, making sure that you do have those backups and that things are in place. It's really important.
yes, absolutely. Bidinyam asked, if a backup fails, will you use a command to fix or use the GUI or both? Oh, very good question. So Sukuri has both, right? So you can download the files, all the like a zip file in. You hear this is 4.42 gigabytes. So this is not a small website by any means. It's a
No.
huge website. So then they prepare the file, then say your zip file, you can download the entire thing to your hard drive, whatever. Same with the SQL database. You can do it like that if you want. But also, I won't show you, because if I click on anywhere here, then it's going to change to this is going to change to our client. So I don't want to do that. But this GUI also has the ability for you to restore whatever files you want or folders you want. So you click. I want this restore, and then click on restore, and automatically it will restore only those files that you're looking for. Same with the database. You can just click and then restore the database. So the way we do it is we do two things. The first one is download all the backups, right, and get them ready in our server just in case. And then we apply it manually most of the time, because we got the technical expertise to just apply restore manually through command line and all of that in our web service. So we do it manually. It's easier for us to do it manually. And But for the general public that don't know what they're doing, it is recommendable to use the GUI, right? Sometimes the GUI restoration fails, so that's why we are like, we do it manually. But that's a great question. Both of them you can do manually, and you can do it also through the GUI. All right. So any other questions? Anything else in there? This is the time. Could a company use something like a Wayback Machine? Wayback Machine. The website archives. No, it's okay. Let me just rephrase that. If you want to have a serious business and a serious website, and you don't want any problems, then don't use Wayback Time Machine, because that is that is not even a question. Okay.
It's not even a question.
Yes, I'm sorry, man, but that's not even a question. Whoever you are. However, let me rephrase that a little bit. Hackers use the Wayback Machine
Asking for a friend.
a lot,
Right.
right? Because what happens on the Wayback Machine, when things are getting better in terms of security, you're doing updates and you're putting websites online and stuff like that, and doing security updates. You can still go back to see certain elements of the website, files and things like that. So hackers use the our website archives quite a bit, because they can find relevant information in terms of OSINT. This is called OSINT, right? Open source intelligence. That's what the hackers do. Very good question. Could a company use something like the Wayback Time Machine
That's what. Yeah, we
instead?
already did. Yeah,
Please don't do that. Make sure you have a reliable service. And of course, as part of our services, we do backups every day for our clients, right? Oh, and we go a step farther. We also do SQL backups every 4 hours for some of
yeah.
our clients as well, as part of our services. Now, something I want to mention: why am I saying, okay, we use Sucuri for backups and web monitoring? We use Cloudflare for web application firewall. We use all of these peripheral services. Why don't we do it ourselves? And what would that be? Why would that be, Andrew?
I mean, because they're proven entities. They're proven successful entities. Why reinvent the wheel, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if it's a tried and true, really professional, powerful service, we might as well tap into that and utilize it to our advantage or to your advantage.
Exactly. So we like there's this good phrase that says, like we are, like on something about the shoulders of giants. Oh man, I forgot. I just
I'll
draw
stand on
blanks
the
right now.
shoulder of giants, or yeah,
We're standing on the shoulders of giants, and we want to make sure that we specialize at one type of service that we're really good at it. And what are we good at it? The hosting, making sure that the web servers and everything is secure, right? And everything else like the backups, the web monitoring, the Cloudflare web application firewall, we can hire our third party like vendors to do that service because they do it the best, right? I mean, we have clients where we have set up specialized web application firewalls, right? And we manage those application firewalls because they serve a specific purpose. However, if you're doing website, might as well go with an external service. The other thing is, like, if you want to do backups, right? Don't put the backups on the same server that's going to get hacked.
that's right.
Makes complete sense to have that backup in a third party service. So if your server gets hacked, then you can actually retrieve those backups and get them going in another hosting environment, right? So those are kind of like things. Oh, thank you, Alexander. He's saying standing on the shoulders of giants. That's what I'm looking for. That's the phrase I'm looking for in there. Excellent. Maltego to find information, paid version. Yes, well, no, you actually use the free version of Maltego. So I have an account with Maltego. You can get a free, and Maltego is a great tool for getting OSINT, all kinds of OSINT. You can also use things like Spiderfoot. Spiderfoot, it's a great way to get OSINT. He's talking about penetration testing and kind of ethical hacking, getting intelligence from different sources.
Right.
Absolutely, 100%. All right, so here is I changed the name, right, from one of our clients to the website in here, and this is the web monitoring, right? So
Right.
the security monitoring, and what it does is every 6 hours it scans the website to make sure that there's file integrity in on your website, and it also does blacklisting check, right, with different sources. And as you can see, the site is up and running in here, and it's been running probably sometimes we have websites running for years because they don't fail very often. So we do give our clients a 99.99% uptime for their hosting environments. So yeah, this is super important to have your web application, not just the firewalls, not just the backups, not just the updates and the web server security, but also the monitoring.
Yeah.
So we're making sure if something happens right away, we get an email that something is going on with your website. We can jump on the server and start looking at things, right? So super important to have that. And you don't want to do it yourself. I mean, we have a 24/7 SOC, security operations center. So if something happens, like at 3 in the morning, then we can take a look at it. All right. So any other questions?
Nope. I think we're good right now so far.
Perfect. What are some of the tools that we use for checking websites? Let me show you. Okay. So this is a scan that I did, right? And it's called WP scan. Okay, and this is, you can download into your Ubuntu machine. It comes with Linux, sorry, your Kali system. It comes with your Parrot OS, and it's open source. WP scans. What it does is it scans your WordPress, everything about your WordPress. And of course, because I'm smart, I changed the name of the client to client.ca. I don't know who client.ca, so I'm sorry, client.ca, if you exist.
That's right.
And it does, it checks your headers, right? You can see right away that this has Cloudflare, because you get Cloudflare information in here. But if I go down, it checks your robots, it checks things like all your plugins that you're using, right? And sometimes what it does is, so this one is using Body Boss, for example. It checks the version, right? And when it identifies um, bad or outdated versions of plugins, I can I see right away through this scan, right? So for example, let me see if I can find one in here. Let me see. It checks for everything, themes, core files, all of that stuff, right? So it's a pretty good plugin. uh, Latest version, up to date. Oh man, I can't find any. Yeah, you see here. Okay, so plugins. This plugin is out of date, right? So if this plugin is out of date, it means that it can get hacked, right? So if you have, for example, some security, like critical security vulnerabilities on a WooCommerce, for example, or any plugin, right, and it has not been patched, hackers can actually very easily do a WP scan, see if some of your plugins are out of date, and then attack those vulnerabilities and get into your site, right? So you can see here that WP scan actually uh, pinpointed that this plugin is out of date. We have questions?
We do.
All right.
We do. From Diego, is there a tool to distinguish the insecure plugin from a secure one?
Yes. So this is one that I'm talking about. So
Exactly.
WP scan is one. And you can see, for example, here, there is a WooCommerce anti-fraud, right? Unauthenticated user status, one vulnerability identify, and it shows here what the problem is. So this right away is going to tell you that, okay, like for hackers, this is kind of goal, right? Like they
Right.
go through this. For you, you can just go into your WordPress and look at the status of all your plugins and update the ones that are not that are out of date, right?
Right.
Another tool that I want to show you, thank you for asking that. There's many tools out there. This is another one that you can use very easily as part of your cybersecurity defensive mechanism. So this is called OWASP Zap, right? So here you can have ASIC, I can create a scan, so I can put bewire.ca in here, right? I'm not gonna do it because the bandwidth and stuff, right? And when I choose this, I can attack the website, and it will give me a whole whack of alerts in here, right?
Mhm.
Telling me what the problems are and how to fix them. So even though you have plugins that are, like up to date, you might still have problems with your headers, with the other
Right.
problems on inside of your web server and stuff, right? So very important. This is called OWASP Zap. I have another one here. Really good questions, because I had these tools already ready for you. This one is a really good tool. Burp Suite.
Mm.
Burp Suite. And this one also does, if you have the paid version, which is I think $400 per year, you can do automatic scanning. But in here you can do a lot of intruder and repeater and sequencer stuff. So you can send requests to the web server and see the response, and then try to hack into the site like that. We use this quite a bit in as part of our penetration testing engagements, right? So
Right.
another
Yeah.
good tool, free to download. Anybody can download these tools, by the way, right? So, I mean, and that's the thing about all the cybersecurity tools, right? It's like a double-edged sword. All the tools are free to download, open source. You can download it to make sure that all of your stuff, your network, your computers, your websites are secure, because you can test them.
Right.
But those tools are used for hackers too, by hackers, to hack into systems. So that's pretty crazy, eh?
Yeah, that's
Yeah. So
absolutely.
this is another tool that you can use, Burp Suite. Any other questions out there?
Any other questions, guys? We're coming to the end of the show. Actually, it's been going crazy. Actually, it's very informative
No
information.
questions. Gladstone says we have 10 minutes. Okay, perfect.
All
All
right.
right. So so we talked about the backups. We talked about the security in terms of your plugins. iThemes is a very important one. We talked about the website monitoring, so the security monitoring. We also talked about the tools that are used for checking the websites, WP Scan, Burp Suite, as well as Open OWASP. It's very important. Let me show you another one that I think is very important. It is called Mozilla. So I'm going to go to Mozilla Observatory. Mozilla Observatory. Okay. So this is Mozilla Observatory. And I'm going
Hmm.
to enter my own personal website, danduran.me. And I'm going to click on don't include in my site on the public results. And then I'm going to click on scan. And what this is going to do is it's going to scan for anything on the server side, things like headers, things like like SSH connections, SSL security certificates, and all of that good stuff, right? So it's doing all of that, and you can see that security headers. If I click on security headers here, I got an A, right? I mean, come on, man. We're talking about my own website. I'm going to make sure that it's all secure. So you can see here that all my security headers are compliant, right? Like stricting transport, X frames, all of that stuff. So I don't get hacked like with, let's say, cross-site scripting and things like that. If I go here, I have things like the HSTS preloader to make sure that all your subdomains are covered. You can see that my subdomains are already I'm not going to go into details into the technical stuff of what it does. I'm just telling you that this is good to have to protect all your subdomains, right? Um, some of the stuff is timing out. And the reason why it's timing out is because I do have mod security. Mod security is a really good Apache 2 plugin or module that you can use to block any incoming robots that are coming into your site that you don't want. And I think it's doing that, is stopping these other scanners from accessing my own website, which is great. And then you see here SSL Labs. SSL Labs has to do with everything that has to do with the security certificates. So if I go to SSL Labs, you can see that I get an A plus and all of these. I mean, come on, you're talking to a website expert here, security expert. Of course, I'm gonna have some really heavy security on everything that I do. That's because I like doing this stuff, right? So that is the Mozilla Observatory. Make sure that you get good grades in here, right? Um, and I think that's it. Any
We got a
other
couple good.
questions?
Yeah, we do. We have two actually really good questions actually.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
from Adrian, I have a question. I see that there are many tools. Is there a way to combine them, or a platform that allows us to integrate them all?
Yes, there are services like, for example, a mini web that try to combine a lot of this stuff, but they're expensive. They're really expensive, right? Um, the best way to do it is to have two things. The first one is to have a company like Rhino Cybersecurity do your hosting, because we're going to do the backups, we're going to do the monitoring, we're going to do
Dates.
the updates, we're going to do hosting, we're going to do all of that stuff. So that's the first thing. Have a good cybersecurity hosting company by your side. That's the first thing. The second one that I would definitely recommend is to go in here and buy the vulnerability assessments. Because if you buy the vulnerability assessment, then we check your site every quarter. So we do a complete vulnerability assessment for your website, and then we fix anything that will be considered vulnerable, right? So you want to do two things. We want to make sure that you have all the security defenses in place and they're combined. And Rhino Cybersecurity does that; it combines it for you. And the second thing is that you don't know what you have until you actually scan, right? So you need to
Problem.
do the scanning. by doing the vulnerability assessments. We will do WPO scan, we will do burp suite, we will do open OWASP zap, and check out all the vulnerabilities that you have. So those are
Exactly.
the two things that I definitely recommend, and Rhino Cybersecurity does it for you. Now,
And
I
what's
don't
really
know out
important,
there.
well, what's really important about that, Dan, too, is not do we only do it, but we give you a very thorough report outlining everything, so it's very transparent at the end of it, actually.
Absolutely, 100%. Oh man, I wish I could show you the reports that we produce for our clients. They're phenomenal, but
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't I have some in here, but they have client names and stuff like that. So I do have samples, but for the sake of time, what you need to do is contact our salespeople. Contact
Exactly.
us, and then we'll be able to give you those good uh, um, the more information about this.
100%.
Any other
Eduardo,
questions?
yeah, Eduardo has one, I think. Um,
Dan, do these tools have any risk in using them? I mean, can I accidentally mess up something? Oh, good
it's a great
question.
question. Great question.
Yes and no. Okay. So when you're using certain tools, let's say you're using Open OWASP Zap, okay, you want to make sure that you have a good server, okay, because you're pretty much DDoSing that website. So when we do our scans, for example, we do them at night, not during business hours, because if you do in business hours, there is a lot of traffic and you don't want the site to be slow, right? So um and it takes probably 2 or 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours, depending on the scan, and it's like you're DDoSing that website and that web server. If you have a very fragile web server that does not have enough juice, like in terms of CPUs and RAM and all of that, it will bring it down. So be careful in there. So good, very, very good question. When we do penetration tests, right? So we throw tools like, let's say, OpenBAS and things like that. Um, you have to make sure that some of this stuff can get intrusive, right? Especially when you're doing penetration tests, because you're trying to actually exploit a vulnerability and see the proof of concepts that we get from it. So what we ask our clients is to have everything in a sandbox environment or a development environment. So create a new instance on AWS or off your website, for example, so we can hack it. And if we bring it down and then it screws up and explodes, then it is not affecting the production servers. Very good question. Very good question, Eduardo. Thank you for asking that.
And just there's somebody who's actually joined us. He looks like they're new, but I'm all about basically anybody who joins us, and it's all about information and strengthening, technologies. There's someone fits some. He says, I can do websites. I just want to throw a little plug out. Just thanks for joining us on our show. Obviously, cybersecurity and making sure you're protected and the things we do and people we can offer our services and solutions to. So welcome I just wanted to throw that little plug into you because it's all about strengthening our core industry.
So here's the thing: Fitsum does websites, we secure them. There you
Exactly.
go.
I love that. There you go. So there's a little plug for you, and I hope
All
hope
right,
it works
guys.
out for you.
Okay, perfect. So we have another question from Biniam. If you can put it on the display. Okay, I just put the backups into a Google Drive, and you're set. Okay, good for you, Biniam. The only problem with that is that make sure that your drive is not accessible to the public, right? So it is private. And something that I would definitely recommend not doing is exactly what you're doing. And the reason why is because a lot of companies get hacked,
Right.
and if you have files, sensitive files that are inside of your, let's say, OneDrive if you're Microsoft, or your Google Drive if you are a workplace, Google Workplace. The first thing that hackers are going to do when they get into the network, it's check for shared drives and anything that they can get their hands on to exfiltrate that data and put it on the dark web. So if you're putting any documents that are sensitive in any shared drives, that have, for example, passwords and sensitive information, that's like a no. If you're adding also the backups to those shared drives, they're going to get them, right? So
Right.
even though you have a fantastic website that is like up to date, it's like super secure, hackers kind of, if they go into your network, they can still get that information. So Oh no, I don't do it. I have my
Touch ready.
files in the hard drive. Sorry, I don't mean to scare you, man, but that's what's going on in the world, right? So, something else that I wanted to mention is, yeah, so sensitive information on your hard drives. I think you're better off going into GitHub, so a repository like
Yeah,
Bitbucket, GitHub, or whatever, and creating a private repo on those, and then backing up everything into your repos, right? As opposed to, if you keep it on your hard drive, what if your hard drive all of a sudden is not working anymore?
right.
It's your hard drive, right? Do you have some sort of NAS system in there to be able to, or have backups from the hard drive? You never know,
Right.
right? So
You never know.
use the tools, use the experts out there, and GitHub is a really good repo that you can use privately, of course. I think it's like $6 per month. If you do, it's free. You can
Yes,
host things for free, but
absolutely.
like if you want to have more of a business level membership, it's $6 or $7 or something like that per month.
Pretty
All
expensive.
right, thank you
I
so
think.
much for joining us.
Wait,
This was
Dan,
fantastic.
before we end, sorry, I got to cut you off there. It is. I agree, it's fantastic, but something huge is happening as of next week, starting. And I just want to say, go England, go! The World Cup's happening. So any of you fans out there, it's the largest sporting event in the world. So you know what? I wish you all the best and enjoy. And again, I have to end on that good note. Go England, go! Right?
Absolutely, 100%. I'm cheering for Canada first, but I know hopefully we're gonna make it through the first round.
Let's hope. Let's hope. Let's hope.
Very positive. Canada, go Canada. And if like Canada actually fails, then England. I hope England goes all the way to the top and wins the World Cup for
I hope
sure.
so too. I
Just because
appreciate
you, Andrew Somerton, your
that.
roots are from that neck of the woods, right?
There we go. There we go. Well, thank you everybody so
What?
much. It was amazing being back. And I'll just wrap up from me, Dan. I know it looks like you wanted to say something, but thank you
Yes, just
everybody. Thank
one
you, Dan.
thing I want to say: subscribe to our channel, Get Cyber, and YouTube. Also, subscribe to our LinkedIn. We have this phenomenal newsletter with 4 articles per week. Make
Yeah,
sure you subscribe to our channels. You visit our website, rhino.io. And I hope to see you next Friday, 12 o'clock, live, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
absolutely. Go England, go.
All
See
right.
everybody.